my lesson today, my objective was to have my students add up to 4 two-digit numbers using strategies based on place value. This is usually a difficult task for my students, therefore I wanted to put it into a real-world problem for them to solve. The main focus was being able to have my students use what they already know about place value to explain their strategies and thinking as they were solving it. I was able to support my students' initial understanding of the task by reading the task whole group and providing a picture to build upon the content of the word problem for my students. We discussed the problem whole group, which helped them to make sense of what the task was asking. I could have supported my students' understanding a little bit better as we were going over the task by having them share with a partner first before we shared out a whole group. I believe Santiago would have been able to better understand the problem had he got to express his thinking with a partner before he shared a whole group, instead of just saying, oh, we needed to add. He'd probably have a better understanding of what the task was actually asking him. When the students were actually solving the task, I tried to make sure I had manipulatives out on their tables like base 10 blocks and connecting cubes, so that whatever support they needed to solve their problem, they had right there in front of them. As students were working, I asked them to explain their strategies for solving the task. This allowed my students to take ownership of their work and clarify any misconceptions that they may have had. Anytime English language learners are able to orally express their thinking, they are building and clarifying their understanding of the task or the skill. Ulysses was able to find his mistake as he retold his strategy. The first time, I could sense some hesitation about his explanation. He wasn't quite sure where he made a mistake, but he knew he did somewhere. With further prompting, he was able to immediately find that mistake, corrected it, and felt confident in his answer. I was also able to question my students' thinking and restate their explanation with some prompting, which allowed them to apply knowledge of the domain-specific vocabulary content that I was looking for within the lesson. For example, Santiago and Uriel, when they were talking about their numbers, they said, well, I added these numbers and then I added these numbers. But my questioning and prompting allowed them to be specific with their explanation and saying, well, I added the 10s and I got 90. Then I added the 1s to get 15. It helped them to build better understanding and clarify what they were doing in their steps to solve the problem. I feel like most of my students were able to solve the problem and explain their strategies, whether independently or with a partner or even with myself, providing more questions for them. However, I don't feel as though I was really able to help Uriel make sense of his strategy. He knew what to do, he knew how to combine the 10s and the 1s, and even his final answer was correct, but he could not actually express his final thinking of how he got to his answer. I wonder if my questioning only confused him more as opposed to helping him figure out and explain his thinking and his strategies. I could have had him refer to his anchor charts to help support him. The anchor charts that we have within the classroom are all the different strategies that we've used to solve addition and subtraction problems, so I feel like being able to refer to that might have been a way to help them. I also could have had teams kind of stop and share halfway through what they were working on, explaining their strategies to a partner. That might have helped him also clarify his thinking and maybe pick up some cues from the other students. Giving Uriel a similar task with different numbers would have been another thing I could have done differently. I think by giving him another task would have allowed him to use and apply his strategy in the same way he did before, but then maybe it'll help him clarify his thinking and the steps that he took to solve that problem. I feel like this lesson was an engaging activity for all of my students. It required a high cognitive demand on all of my students, but yet they also had the tools that they needed to feel successful at this task. We went over the task whole group at the beginning of the lesson. They had manipulatives at their teams to help them support with their strategies as they were solving it. And they also were able to discuss freely with their team as they were working through the task at hand. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch my video and considering me for this program. I am very excited to hopefully be a part of this and learn new ways that I can help my students and be a better teacher for them.